Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Minutes with Mellon. Usually we take a really long video and shorten it. However, this one is really well done, and I think I'm going to play most of it in its entirety. He just does a really good job breaking down the cognitive abilities of Biden versus Trump. I just think it's really well done. So yeah, enough said. Let's get into it.
His health. That means that Joe Biden went through the primary season, he won the presumptive nominee of the Democrat Party, but people still think he's somehow going to be replaced before the election this November. That's shocking. How exactly would that happen? We're going to take a closer look at how the Democrat Party could remove him and ask the question, is Joe Biden too old to be president? People are concerned about Joe Biden's age. He's currently 81 years old, which means he will be 86 at the end of a second term. A poll 2 months ago by ABC News showed that 86% of voters said that Joe Biden was too old to serve out a second term in office. Those are staggering numbers. Now I know that some people will accuse me of ageism by making this video. Nothing could be further from the truth. I know people who are older than Joe Biden who are sharper than a tack. I know people who are older than Joe Biden who are physically fit and active. My great-grandmother has unfortunately passed away, but I remember that she used to always be on top of things. She would always go to her meetings at the Catholic Church every week. She did not act like Joe Biden. With Joe Biden, we're concerned about dementia. You all know what I'm talking about. Sometimes there's a point with an older person where they just start going downhill. Is Joe Biden at that point? A lot of people started paying attention to this issue with the outcome of Joe Biden's classified documents scandal. He was found to have been illegally keeping classified documents in multiple locations. The Justice Department appointed special counsel Robert Hur to perform an investigation. Robert Hur declined to press charges and released a report of his findings which states that he found Joe Biden willfully retained and disclosed classified materials. In the report, he details a 5-hour interview he held with Joe Biden. He describes Joe Biden during the interview as a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. I find this incredibly disturbing. They found that Joe Biden did commit the crime, but they're not prosecuting him because he's too old. I'm not sure that's how the law works. If you're 80 years old and you go out and murder someone, can you just tell the judge, sorry, but you can't prosecute me because I'm too old? Of course you can't do that. There's not a get out of jail free card because you are old. What is going on here? What is even more disturbing is that Congress has requested the audio tapes of Robert Hur's interview with Joe Biden. The Department of Justice has refused to hand over the tapes. First of all, that's illegal. They cannot just refuse to turn over evidence to a case that has been completed and where they found there was no crime. What possible reason could they have for withholding the tapes? It's also just strange because we already have the full transcript of the interview. If we already have the transcript, why won't they release the tapes? Do the tapes show something that's not in the transcript? Did they falsify the transcripts? What are they hiding? Why won't they release the tapes? What's the requirement to remove a president? It's unfortunately vague. The 25th Amendment to the Constitution, Section 4, says that if there is a written declaration that the president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the vice president shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting president. So the question is whether Joe Biden's dementia is so bad that he can no longer handle the job. That's a pretty hard thing to evaluate. But it seems like the Justice Department already made a determination. They determined that Joe Biden was too old to be prosecuted. If he's too old to be prosecuted, doesn't that mean that he's too old to control the nuclear codes? Joe Biden has also been forgetful. In the interview with Robert Hur, Joe Biden forgot when he was vice president. On the first day of the interview, he could not remember the year his term as vice president ended. On the second day of the interview, he couldn't remember the year his term as vice president began. These are pretty basic facts he cannot remember. Joe Biden is also on video multiple times wandering off. Here is a video of Joe Biden wandering around on stage and trying to shake hands with thin air. Here is a video of Joe Biden at the UN Assembly where it appears he's getting lost on stage. It's almost like he doesn't know where he is. Is he waiting for instructions? What is going on?
Mr. President, thank you. At the end of such a momentous event, the word thank you seems kind of inadequate. But for all the millions whose lives will be saved.
Here's another video from this week. This is very strange. Look at Joe Biden's right hand. It's almost like it's paralyzed. He never moves his hand. I don't think I've ever seen anyone hold their hand still like this before. What is happening here? This is not normal. Then there are the crazy facial expressions. Here is Joe Biden signing the Inflation Reduction Act. Look at his facial expressions.
There you go. It's now law.
I'm sorry, but this is not normal. It looks like he doesn't know who he is or why the people around him are clapping. By the way, I'm still waiting for inflation to go down. I'm still not sure what this bill actually did. Then there are all the situations when it looks like Joe Biden is being managed. Normally, if you are president of the United States, you would be telling other people what to do. But not in Joe Biden's situation. Here is a video of Joe Biden being cut off at a press conference.
And I'm happy to take questions if that's what I'm supposed to do, Nance, whatever you want me to do.
He's offering to take questions, and the White House cuts his feed. Then the White House later edited this video on their YouTube page. This has happened multiple times where Joe Biden gets cut off by his staff. Who's running things at the White House? Then there is all the falling. Joe Biden has fallen down multiple times. I can't remember any other president falling like this. Why does he fall down so much? I'm getting a little concerned for his health just because of all the falling. Then there are the times Joe Biden slurs his words.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to excuse me.
What was he saying?
I was going to excuse me.
Now, whenever anyone criticizes Joe Biden speaking, the news media rushes to his defense and claims that he has struggled with stuttering. But that's not true. It's not just the stuttering. What he is saying does not make any sense.
I don't know what the difference between breaking your arm and having a mental breakdown is. It's health. There's no distinction. It's health. If you could do anything at all, Joe, what would you do? I said I'd cure cancer. They looked at me like, why cancer? Because no one thinks we can. That's why, and we can. We'd end the cancer as we know it.
Here he says that we cured cancer. When exactly did that happen? Because I don't remember us curing cancer. Do you remember that? He sounds like he doesn't know what he's talking about. And just in comparison, here is Joe Biden when he was running in 2008.
I was recently at my local gas station, asked a guy named Joey Danko, I said, Joey, how much it cost to fill your tank? You know what his answer was? He said, I don't know, Joe. I never have enough money to do it. The middle class needs relief.
John McCain has been the consummate maverick in the Senate over all these years. He's taken shots left and right from the other party and from within his own party because he's had to take on his own party.
He's not been a maverick on the war. He's not been a maverick on virtually anything that generally affects the things that people really talk about around their kitchen table.
Am I crazy? Because he sounds like a completely different person. Now, I'm not making fun of his stutter. I am saying that Joe Biden seems like he's going downhill. And then there are the reports that Joe Biden poops his pants. On a trip to the Vatican, rumors started circulating that Joe Biden pooped his pants when he was visiting the Pope. The hashtag Poopy-pants Biden started trending on Twitter. This is relevant because pooping your pants is another common sign of dementia. Later that same weekend, Joe Biden took this bizarre photo with other world leaders at the G20 summit. Why is Joe Biden standing way over there, away from everyone else? Did he poop his pants again? Is that why everyone's standing away from him? Then Ted Cruz went to America Fest 3 months ago and said this.
Listen, we have a president of the United States who his team carries extra pairs of pants with him when he travels in case he has poopy pants. Now, I want you to pause and think how the enemies of America are feeling. Depends.
It has not been confirmed for sure if Joe Biden is or is not pooping his pants. But it is strange that these rumors keep circulating. I don't understand why the news media is not asking about this. The White House holds press conferences all the time. Why doesn't any reporters ask the question, does Joe Biden poop his pants? I think we need to know. How could Joe Biden possibly sit across a table from world leaders and negotiate while he is pooping his pants? Then the rumors get more wild. A month ago, Tucker Carlson did an interview with Alex Jones where he said this.
But yeah, he is completely out of his mind. He wanders around for the entire 2.5 years, it's getting worse, naked in the White House. In the middle of the night, doesn't know who he is. They have to give him a bunch of drugs, a bunch of amphetamines in the morning. Then they've got to drug him at night. Sometimes he'll like be out for the morning for a while, and then comes back out at night for a ball. That's when there's a real problem.
He is on drugs. I have established that. I know someone who witnessed it. I'm not guessing at this. I know someone personally who witnessed him taking amphetamines. And this was during the 2020 election.
Now, we have no way of verifying if what Alex Jones is saying is true. But I've noticed a pattern lately where Alex Jones will say something and everyone will laugh at him and call him crazy. And then a couple of years go by and it turns out that he was right about everything.
Yeah, he also predicted 9/11. And he predicted Bin Laden would be the fall guy for 9/11. That's crazy.
What do you think? Do you think Alex Jones is right? But whether you believe the rumors or not, what really matters is if Joe Biden meets the requirement in the Constitution. Is he unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office? What would a doctor say in this situation? A doctor would look at the symptoms. So forget Joe Biden for a moment. What would you say if you met a random 81-year-old man who displayed these symptoms? Determined incompetent to stand trial, forgetful, gets confused, wanders off, crazy facial expressions, being managed by other people, repeatedly falls, slurs his words, speaks in nonsense sentences, poops his pants. I think a doctor would diagnose that person with dementia. How can a person with dementia run the United States? What's so frustrating for me is that while Donald Trump was president, the news media was constantly calling for him to be removed from office using the 25th Amendment of the Constitution. They felt that Trump's mean tweets showed he was mentally unstable, and that made him unfit to be president. Why aren't these same people concerned about Joe Biden? I don't know if you remember this, but Donald Trump actually took a cognitive test.
I said to the doctor, it was Dr. Ronnie Jackson, I said, is there some kind of a test, an acuity test? And he said there actually is, and he named it, whatever it might be. And it was 30 or 35 questions. The first questions are very easy. The last questions are much more difficult. Like a memory question, it's like you'll go person, woman, man, camera, TV. So they say, could you repeat that? So I said, yeah. So it's person, woman, man, camera, TV. Okay, that's very good. If you get it in order, you get extra points. Okay, now he's asking you other questions, and then 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes later, they say, remember the first question? Not the first, but the 10th question? Give us that again. Can you do that again? And you go person, woman, man, camera, TV. If you get it in order, you get extra points. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy.
Trump passed the test. He said the list. Man, woman, camera, refrigerator, whatever was on the list. I don't even remember the list. How did he do that? Is it possible that Trump has been a genius this whole time and no one realized it? Here's the real question. Do you think that Joe Biden could pass that test? Why doesn't he take the test? Isn't it a little unfair that Donald Trump took a cognitive test and passed with flying colors, and Joe Biden refuses to take a test? I want someone to explain this to me. Why does Donald Trump have to take the test, but Joe Biden doesn't have to take the test? This seems to me like a two-tiered justice system. Here's the White House when asked if Joe Biden would take the test.
Does the White House think that the idea of the president taking a cognition test, a cognitive test, as a part of this physical is a legitimate idea, particularly just on the heels of the special counsel report, more polling, as my colleague Selena just mentioned, showing that many American people have concerns about that?
Look, I got this question last week as well, and I'm just going to say what Dr. O'Connor, it's kind of what he said to me about a year ago when the report came out last year, obviously on his physical, which is the president proves every day how he operates, how he thinks, right? But by dealing with world leaders, by making really difficult decisions on behalf of the American people, whether it's domestic, whether it's national security. And so he shows it every day on how he thinks, how he operates. And so that is how Dr. O'Connor sees it, and that's how I'm going to leave.
Excuse me? He shows it every day? We have already seen the videos that show Joe Biden wandering off. The video shows that he needs to take the test. What is this woman talking about? The implications of all of this is very serious. According to the latest mortality statistics, a man Joe Biden's age has a 31.35% chance of dying within 5 years. That means there is a 1/3 chance he would not make it through a second term. But given Joe Biden's medical condition and the stress of the job, it's probably more like 50% chance he's going to die. That means whoever the Democrats are voting for, they are really voting for the vice president. This brings us to the main question. Given that Joe Biden appears too old, and the majority of voters think he's too old, can the Democrats remove Joe Biden from the ticket, even though he was voted in as the nominee? Actually, they can. Here's an article published in Politico. In the article, they describe a step-by-step plan on how to remove Joe Biden. Here's how it works. At the Democrat National Convention, Joe Biden would be announced as the official Democrat nominee. However, after the convention, there is a window of time before the election where the Democrat Party can switch out the candidate in the event of the death, resignation, or disability of the nominee. This is in the rules of the Democrat Party. They have given themselves a loophole. If that happens, a new nominee will be chosen by the 450 members of the Democrat National Committee. Basically, the party elite will choose the candidate regardless of who the people voted for. I don't know about you, but that doesn't seem very democratic. In fact, if someone became president who no one voted for, are we even a democracy anymore? Replacing a candidate has never happened before, but it is possible, and I have noticed that a number of people in the Democrat Party have been talking about this option. Personally, I think Hillary Clinton is secretly promoting the strategy behind the scenes. Think about it. This would allow Hillary Clinton to be appointed as leader without ever having to campaign. And if she cheated while counting the votes, she could name herself president without people even voting for her. Now, I know that some of you will say, Zach, you're being crazy. That's a conspiracy theory. Really? Because look at what I found. This is an interview with Hillary Clinton talking about Joe Biden's age.
He almost fell over coming down the stairs a day or two ago. He didn't use the railings. Jill wasn't there with him. Every time that happens, your heart is in your mouth because these things could be consequential. Is that a concern?
Well, I mean, it's a concern for anyone. And we've had presidents who've fallen before who were a lot younger, and people didn't go into, heart palpitations. But his age is an issue, and people have every right to consider it.
Here is Hillary Clinton calling Joe Biden old.
And, somebody the other day said to me, Zerlina, well, but, Joe Biden's old. I said, you know what? Joe Biden is old. Let's go ahead and accept the reality. Joe Biden is old.
Now, can you watch those clips and honestly say that you don't think Hillary Clinton has thought about seizing control of the White House? Some people out there think the Democrats will try to replace Joe Biden with Gavin Newsom. That's not going to happen. I'm trying to explain this to you because people don't understand what's going on. 450 people are going to decide the next Democrat candidate. Who are those 450 people? They are Hillary Clinton's friends. They're all the same Democrat Party leaders. Biden is attempting to move Joe Biden, willingly give up control. And I don't see that happening. Even if he does have dementia, I don't think he would give up being president. For the sake of clarity,
I don't know. I just thought that was really good. But, yep. I'll see you guys on the next one. Don't like and subscribe, man.